Here's how I started my own web design agency. About 13 or 14 years ago, I decided I wanted to start my own web design business. It's been quite the roller coaster since, and I thought to share a bit of my story. Maybe it could help someone out there thinking to do the same. Before I even thought of stepping out on my own, I was fortunate enough to learn the ropes at another agency. I had a couple of really great mentors there that I still consult to this day. They didn't just teach me about web design and marketing, they helped really shape my entire perspective on the business. Do not underestimate the value of having more experienced people than you guide you. You can certainly learn anything you want on your own, and I'm definitely all about that. But if I didn't have these mentors in the beginning, the ride would not have gone as smooth. Before I could promise anyone an awesome website, I had to make sure I could actually do the thing. Up to this point, I was either managing others who did the actual work or at least had collaborators. So what did I do? If I wanted to be able to charge someone, I would need the credibility of my own website. So I decided to start there. All websites have to look great and convey your message and all that, but a web developer's site really needs to set the bar for what you're capable of. Doing this would serve two purposes. One, giving me more experience, and two, giving me a website to be taken seriously. So I slaved over that first iteration of connected web design and finally released it to the world. And then nothing. Okay, so build it and they will come isn't really a thing. I also wasn't feeling super confident yet in my abilities, so I decided to tackle another project. At the time, I was reading a lot of these case studies about the benefits of microsites and how they can help people feel more comfortable and maybe they convert a bit better. There's something about people being on a website that's dedicated to a thing rather than being on a website that does that thing along with a bunch of other things. I knew that SEO was going to be a primary offering. I love that kind of work and I had a legit knack for it, so I decided to build a microsite just for my SEO services. I think it was called Linear SEO or something. I no longer have it now and ultimately decided it was better to double down on one property than split my efforts. But doing this second site built my confidence, gave me another property that could potentially bring sales, and my first site that could be added to my main portfolio. Still no customers. The portfolio was also a bit barren. I knew that my brother's construction company could use an update, could be better optimized for search, and I could do it all without dealing with too much feedback. So my first site for someone else was this comfy, no pressure situation. At this point, I'm starting to feel pretty confident. I've ran into issues, had to problem solve them, started developing a process, and gained a bunch of much needed experience. But now I need to start making money. With my example sites looking pretty damn good, I needed to get out there and round up some paying customers. I was willing to do these jobs for pennies, and I knew that I would pour my soul into them just to get established, so I wouldn't think it would be that hard. Referrals were the way my first actual paying jobs came. I was lucky enough to have a couple of friends who really wanted to see me succeed. For the price I was willing to work, and coming from the strong recommendation of trusted people, it really wasn't that hard to land these first jobs. I think I built a hairstylist website, maybe a snow removal company website, and something for this horse photographer who is actually still a client to this very day. Incidentally, if you do a great job for one type of business, it's how you can start getting your specialties. All of the niches we specialize in today weren't really on purpose. We did great jobs for people and eventually others noticed. When I wasn't busy with jobs that came from referrals, I started literally walking into businesses and talking up owners. Looking back, it was actually pretty freaking awful and embarrassing and awkward, but I did land a few more jobs this way and I was able to start charging a bit more. Those jobs also had a bit of a snowball effect because people wanted to recommend good work to their friends, so this created more referrals and on and on. Those first half a dozen low-paying jobs really filled up my portfolio and gave me a crash course on marketing and sales. I started figuring out how to talk about what I do, how I can help people, how to win people over, and how to feel comfortable in my own skin calling myself a web design business. I think the real key in the beginning, and to this day, was transparency and sincerity. I never considered myself a good salesperson and just focused on how I could actually help people. In reality, I think that's what actually makes me good at sales, not being a salesperson, you know? Those days also forced me to level up skills I didn't even know I needed, like how to send invoices, accept payments, keep track of time, make processes, log expenses, and all that extra stuff that comes along with owning a business. It was so important to me to just really go deep on every last aspect of my business. I researched and tried everything. If I'm gonna send invoices, what's the actual best way to do it? If I'm gonna work with outside help, what's the best way to make those deals? I obsessed with providing a better product, creating smooth process, and consumed as much knowledge as I possibly could from books, others, and the internet. Most of what I learned though was from actually doing. Things started to gel, and I also started planting seeds to play the long game. All this relying on referrals and cold calling wasn't really sustainable, and I had to figure out how to get customers in the door myself. Inbound marketing was the key, and doing it for myself would also build the skills I could soon enough charge for. I started filling up my blog and just cranked out a ton of content. This let me demonstrate my expertise on the site, and every single article I put out there back in the day, I looked at as lines in the water. Each URL was a chance for Google to find my site and lead customers my way. Some of those original URLs are actually still in my blog and have landed plenty of work over the years. I didn't quite realize back then just how large a part content marketing would play in the future version of Connective, and it actually became a pillar of what we do now. I also jumped into this budding thing called social media. Social media was an area that didn't and still doesn't really come naturally to me. I'm a bit of an introvert, but diving in there kind of helped me learn how to work through all that. I went around to every social platform active in the day, created accounts, and started being active on all of them. Again, this is another whole entire thing that built skills that could bring in leads and eventually turn into a service that would one day be a huge part of what we actually do. Once I wasn't completely broke, and I had a little bit of breathing room from living deposit to deposit, I started diving into Google AdWords, now called Google Ads. I wasted a huge amount of money in the beginning, failing, feeling like I was tossing it straight out the window, and vowed to not use it so many times. But eventually my account became so well optimized I could predictably turn ads on, win clients, and get a return. My largest clients of all time actually came from paid search, and once again became a primary service we offer. I'm not exactly sure how to give advice on how to start a successful web agency. I can only really speak to what worked for me. I guess if I had to break it down, it would be to just do. Don't think too much about it. Dive in the deep end and force yourself to swim. And do not underestimate how much people close to you can help you along your way. Peace.